Hello people out there, I'm Lakshmi and I'm a first year MBA student. So as we all know that COVID-19 has spread its tentacle to engulf us all, I am here taking up an opportunity to make you learn a subject called as Human Resource Management. Now HRM is a third trimester MBA subject and we'll be covering the KQ syllabus. So accordingly, I'll be taking up the first module and the half of the second module. So going up, we'll start up with the evolution of HRM. To see here, it is claimed that the HRM evolved during the Industrial Revolution, but we did witness many characters and deities from the world history and Indian mythology. To name a few, from world history we have Nelson Mandela, we have Spartacus, we have Alexander the Great, and from the Indian mythologies we have Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, and many more. Now moving ahead to know whether we did witness it really well, whether about the successful HR manager or not, let's move to the next topic, that is the characteristics and the qualities of an HR manager. Starting off with the qualities and the characteristic of a successful HR manager, up on your screen you can see few of the points. The very first point deals with the expertise and knowledge in HR, which means that the person should have the educational foundation in HR, of course. Second up, we have the engaging presentation skills. The person should have the ability to grab the attention of the audience out there. Third up, we have the ability to multitask. In an organization, an HR manager needs to deal up with the recruitment procedure and at the same time must be able to follow up with the queries of the employees. Next up, we have the strong sense of ethics, which means that the HR manager should be able to maintain and follow the guidelines and policies of the organization. Next, we have the strong communication skills. The person should be able to beautifully and successfully and effectively deliver the message to the audience. Next, the leadership skills, which tells us that the person should be able to motivate the employees out there. A successful HR manager should have the quality to manage the conflict. As we all know, we tend to work in an organization with various people having different opinions. So this is the very reason why the conflict arises, and a successful HR manager should know how to manage and resolve the conflict. Next up, we have the courage. The person should have the courage to bring up and adopt the changes. And the last we have is to be able to deal with the grey, which means that if an employee is having any kind of a problem, the HR manager should be able to curb the problem. Next up, we have a very important topic, that is the difference between the personal management and the human resource management. Now, personal management is basically an older approach which was taken up by the organization, where an organization's goals and objectives and the employer's needs were taken into consideration and not the employees. It was highly direction and control oriented. That means there was no free form of communication that was happening within the organization, and it basically focused on higher production rates and leading to reaching the organization goals. Now moving on to the HR, that is the human resource practices or the human resource management. It is a modern approach. Nowadays organizations follow the strategic human resource management and the human resource management approach, wherein the organization's goal is taken into consideration along with the employees' needs. Employees' queries are taken into consideration, and it's a free fall of a free movement of communication that happens within the organization. Now looking up at the human resource management in contrast to personal management, human resource management is a very modern approach, and at the same time we can say that in human resource management, along with achieving the goals and the objective of the organization, employee needs and demands are also taken into consideration. For example, the employee's career growth, development, all is taken into consideration in the case of human resource management. Here, it's not only, it's the communication among the employees within the organization is free, so anybody can communicate with each other, but yeah, at the same time we need to follow the policies of the organization. Alright, so with this we have ended the module number 1, wherein we saw the evolution of human resource management. Along with that, we saw the difference between the personal management and the human resource management, and at last we even saw the characteristics and the traits of a human resource manager. Now moving ahead with the second module, the very first topic in the second module is the job analysis. Now what do you mean by analysis? What if I ask you to analyze a water bottle? So in that, you will keenly observe the bottle, you will see its color, its structure, its capacity. All of this will tell you about the characteristics of a water bottle. In the same manner, when I ask you to analyze a job, it will tell you the characteristics and the task and responsibilities that will come up in a job. A job analysis will consist of two important documents, that is a job description and a job specification. So as you can see, the very two important topics, that is a job description and the job specification, these two documents and these two topics help us to go for the job analysis. Now why do we need to analyze a job? It's because when you're offering a job to a certain set of people, you need to first know what are the requirements of the job and what all tasks and responsibilities do we require to give them out. So for this, the very first topic of the job description includes a few points, which includes the job title, the job summary, along with that the working condition, equipment, tools, and every other thing. The job description is going to tell us about the task and responsibilities which is required, the number of machines, tools, and the working condition that is required to be offered to the employees. Along with that, the next topic that we have is the job specification. In the case of job specification, we can come to know what are the personal skills, what are the education qualification, the age, the gender required for a particular task to be done. Along with that, we should also know about the training requirement, the skill, the potentials required for to conduct that particular job. Along with that, the responsibility that must be assigned to the people. So basically, the job description and the job specification are those two important documents which help us to conduct the job analysis. To explain a little further in job analysis, let me cite you an example. For example, there's a recruiter in a two-wheeler showroom and he wants to recruit few people for the role of salesperson. Now, how is he going to conduct the job analysis? So as we have discussed, the job analysis includes two important documents, that is job specification and job description. In the case of job description, he is going to tell you about the job title, that he is in need of the people for this role of salesperson. Along with that, he will be including the location details, the working condition, the working hours, the machines, equipment, tools, and requirements regarding the job role. At the same time, in the case of job specification, he's going to tell us about the job specification, the potential, the skills required, which should be exhibited by the person who is going to come for this particular job. Moving on to the very next topic that we have is how do we conduct the job analysis, that is the methods of conducting a job analysis. So as you can see on the screen, we have got three methods to conduct the job analysis. The very first method is the observation method, second is the interview method, and third is the questionnaire method. Now, beginning with the very first method of job analysis, that is the observation method. Now, observation method includes three other methods. The very first method is a direct observation method, in which the person will go and observe how the employees are working in the industry, and he's going to make a general notes of how the work is carried out and how the worker is accomplishing a task, and along with that, he'll also make the note of what all equipment have been used in the industry. The second category of job analysis under the observation method is the work method analysis. Now, under work method analysis, it is basically used in industries and factories where you make use of large equipment and large number of activities. So here the observer is keen to observe the number of repetitive activities which is undergone over here, and this kind of analysis is basically used by the industrial engineers. The last type of technique under the observation method is the critical incident technique. Now, this technique helps us to understand what are the ineffective and effective behavior of the employee under the working condition. So, ineffective behavior are those behavior of the employee which tends to hamper the production process, whereas effective behavior are those behavior which helps them to boost the production process in the organization. The second type of method for conducting job analysis is the interview method. In the interview method, the interviewer will interview few employees in the organization. Along with them, he might even interview some of the superiors and other workers. Here, a general set of questions regarding the job is asked to the employees. And in this case, the information provided by the employees may not be really true and accurate, since they will try to protect their own interests. The very last method under the job analysis is the questionnaire. Now, in the questionnaire, a properly drafted questionnaire is sent to the job holders, wherein different dimensions are listed down. Different dimensions such as the frequency of the job, the working condition, the performance, the relationship with the other employees, all of these questions are given, and to which the job holders have to rate these dimensions, and according to the ratings provided by the job holders, and information regarding the same is taken out, through which we can conclude a job analysis. Next up, we have the new topic, that is the significance of the job analysis. Now, significance of the job analysis includes the manpower planning, which means that how many people do you need to recruit for your organization and what kind of people do you need to recruit for your organization, which comes under the manpower planning. Second up, we have what is called as recruitment. Now, recruitment will tell us about the sources of recruitment. From where are you going to conduct the recruitment? Is it from the college, or is it from a campus, or is it from a school, or whatnot? Next up, we have what is called a selection. Now, selection will tell you about the procedures and the activities that have to undergo while conducting a recruitment and selection procedure. Like, for example, an interview needs to be conducted or a test has to be conducted. Next up, we have what is called as training and career development. So once you recruit and select the employees for your organization, what is really necessary is to give them the basic training for the job role they have been recruited for. And in the case of career development, as you know that the various technological upgradations happen in the coming years. So your employees must be really ready to adapt to these changes. So for that, you need to make them go under the training and career development. Next up, we have what is called as the employee safety and welfare, in which the employee must be given the proper working condition and they must be kept away from various hazards that can happen in the industry. Next up, we have what is called as a performance appraisal. Now, this includes all the benefits and the perks that you're supposed to give to your employees when they conduct any new activity or any other task, extracurricular task. After that, we have counseling. Now, why do we need a counseling in an organization? It happens because there are certain employees who may not tend to work with their fullest potential after one stage while they're working. So for that, to motivate them, to boost them and to make them work again with their highest potential, we need to go for counseling. Next up, we have what is called as strategic planning. Now, strategic planning refers to the long-term planning which is required under the human resource management regarding all the tasks and activities that must be conducted for undergoing the human resource management. So with this, we conclude about the job analysis. Now, after job analysis, what we have is called as the job design. Now, in job analysis, we found out what are the tasks, responsibility, potential, skills required for conducting a particular job. Now, what comes up is to organize these responsibilities and tasks in a particular format. This can be done using what is called as a job design. Now, coming up, we have the methods in job design. There are 4 methods in job design. The very first method is the job simplification method. Now, this method is used when you want to simplify the job or make it specialized in nature. So, when a job is unspecialized, that particular job is divided into subparts and each part is distributed to the particular individual in an organization. The very next method in job design we have is the job rotation. Now, job rotation method is a technique wherein it's a systematic movement of employee from one job to another. Now, this type of technique is basically used when we want to replace a person from lower level to a person in higher level. That means when you want to enhance a skill, the ability, the experience of a person by giving them different kind of job roles, this is when we go for the job rotation technique. This will enhance the performance, the ability and the skill of the employees because this employee will be able to replace a person in the next higher authority level. The next method that we have under job design is the job enlargement method. Under this method, this is exactly opposite to what we learned of in the job simplification method. In this method, we are going to accumulate all other different tasks and responsibilities with the same level of ability and skills required for a particular job. So here, a person will have to carry out, at one particular time, he'll have to carry out many other tasks and responsibilities, but this will enhance his ability and skill to work for a particular job. And this will also eliminate the boredom or the monotony while doing a work. Also to include, job enlargement is exactly opposite of job simplification, but it's an extension of the job rotation. The very last method on the job design is the job enrichment. As the name suggests, enrichment, which is to enhance the content of the work. Now here, the person who is working under this method will actually enhance his responsibility, scope and performance. So because of this, the person will be able to enhance in every field, and also this method helps us to give the autonomy to a particular person, or the person will feel motivated by working under this category. So to conclude, let's recall whatever we have learned so far. In Module 1, we learned about the evolution of human resource management. Along with that, we learned about the difference between the personal management and human resource management. We also learned about the qualities and the characteristics of a successful HR manager. In Module 2, we learned about the job analysis and job design. So if you have any queries regarding any of the topics discussed so far, please comment in the comment section, and I hope to meet you soon. Thank you.